So here we are in Mailerlite, and today I'll be showing you sort of an insider's view of the way Mailerlite lays out. And you'll notice that the email service providers that I'm showing you inside of, the insider's peek, they have a lot of similarities. And so basically when you're looking at them, you're going to want to choose the one that is most intuitive to you. Now with Mailerlite, they're relatively new on the scene, and I'm not as familiar with them as I am with ActiveCampaign or Aweber. So I'll kind of be figuring this out with you as we go through. This is the dashboard once you have logged on, and like most of the online service or the email service providers, this is going to fill in obviously as time goes on and they have stats to track for you. But it's a good place to always start. So from the dashboard, I'm going to go right across from left to right. My assumption is that this is the way they want me to set up the different steps because that's the way they have them listed across here. So we'll see. So we'll start with campaigns. And here it says I have a draft. I don't remember setting up a draft because I just signed up for this. So I'm not sure if this is preloaded in here, but we'll go ahead and actually I'm going to go with create a campaign so we can see it from the beginning. Here is where you would put in your subject line and who it's from, your language. You can set up your A/B split tests here. If you wanted to send something out to someone again, sometimes 3 or 4 days after you send out an email, you may want to send it to people who didn't open it or people who subscribed to your list since the last time the newsletter went out, or maybe you had a live event and you got new subscribers and they want some content that you sent out before. So you can do auto resend there. And then RSS again is to set up a link so that they automatically get email notification when you have a new blog post. So we'll just type in and campaigns are emails. So you can do instant personalization over here. We're going to go to content. And they have a drag and drop editor, a rich text editor, and a custom HTML. For the most part, you're going to go with drag and drop. You can go to their template gallery. And I'm on the free plan. You'll see that they don't have templates available in their free plan, so you could upgrade. So we'll go back to create new, and I'll choose the drag and drop editor. And then it looks a little different than some of the other email services. And that's the beauty of having this many different types of email services, because you can find the one that works the best for you. So here is their logo, Airmail. It looks like you can change that out right here. You could upload a new image. Let's see, how do I get back? Okay. You could, do your typing here. Oh, I guess you type over in the side box. And then you've got settings for padding on the top and the bottom. Sometimes if you have a lot of spacing at the bottom here and you don't want it, it's your padding. See how that moves the image? And that's true of ActiveCampaign too, and some of the other email services. It takes a while to figure some of these things out, but that's how you get rid of some of the spaces. So there's a lot of different design settings in here. I'm just going to save this the way it is. You can also, over here on these blocks, here's the logo block. You can change to all these different ways of having your logo at the top. Okay. They have a lot of different options over here. And then they have different types of blocks too. So here's all their button options. Here is their social media options. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways to customize your email. Okay, then actions, we can save it as a template. We can move content blocks. You can go back in time if you made a mistake. We're going to go to preview mode just so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. This is what it would look like on desktop if you wanted to see what it looked like on mobile. See, it's not very mobile responsive. You need to address that in the templates because you don't want somebody on their phone to have it cutting off that way. And then if you want to view it in different browsers, you could copy this and paste it in different browsers. Okay, so you can look at it as a PDF, whatever. Okay, so now we're going to say we're done editing. You can decide who you're going to send it to. I have one group set up, and in Mailerlite, lists are called groups. Now I'm going to have a little bit of a rant here for a second. I don't rant very often. I have like had it up to here, which you can't see, but I've had it up to here with email services trying to be clever and trying to come up with different ways of doing things. In the online space, when we are launching services and products, we call lists lists and forms forms and subscribers subscribers. Sometimes I can see contacts and subscribers. Those seem to be pretty interchangeable. Forms seem to not normally be an issue. Everybody calls pretty much the same thing a form, but I am so over things being called all lists having all different names because it just makes life more complicated, as if online business isn't complicated enough. So when I came into Mailerlite and saw that they don't have lists, but they have groups and they have segments instead, that right there was enough reason for me personally to not want to use them, because I don't want to encourage the whole clever thing. Segments are something that all email service providers that I'm covering have. You can segment a list. Segmenting a list means taking your main list and breaking it down into a smaller group. You can segment by the day that they subscribed. You can segment by the part of the country that they live in. You can segment by whether they clicked a link, but they're all part of your one particular list, okay? It's a list. For some reason, Mailerlite doesn't use lists. They use groups and segments. Now, if you go onto Mailerlite and you try to find out what the difference is between lists and or groups and segments, they give you a super confusing chart of when you should use each one. If you are just starting out in email, using email services, which is who this video is designed for, then you should not be worried about segmenting your list at this point. At some point, you will want to segment your list. That is not today. Don't worry about segments, okay? So the fact that they even make that a thing here makes me a little bit crazy. Groups right here, that means your list. So I have one list set up and it's Launch Tech Made Easy. Alternately, if you check this box, you can send an email to everyone that is in your Mailerlite campaign. So it would be all of your subscribers, okay? That's the difference with Mailerlite. Okay, so I'm gonna send this to my list, Launch Tech Made Easy. And then you get this confirmation screen. And it tells you, okay, here's your subject line. You're going to be sending it from Tracy at Launch Tech Made Easy. It's going out in English, and you can edit any of this up here. And then in your content, you get a little thumbnail, which is kind of cool. Some of the email services don't do that, so you can be sure you're actually sending out what you want to. And then you can send yourself a test email, okay? You can also set it up to send just plain text. If you know some people are having trouble getting images or whatever, and you just want to send things out as plain text, you have that option. It used to be that emails with graphics in them often wound up in people's spam folders, and so it was common for a long time to send things out as plain text. What what people don't realize is plain text here means there's no links. A true plain text email doesn't include any HTML coding, and a link is HTML. So you would only use this. It used to be that this was the way you used to send emails to people who were looking at mobile. Really, there's not a lot of reason to just do this plain text version anymore. What you would do instead, if you're worried about having graphics in your email, is you would just not put graphics in your email. Okay, it does not have to be plain text. You can see here who my recipient is. I have one person on my list. So it's my Launch Tech Made Easy list, which they're calling a group. You can edit your recipients over here. So pretty much this is exactly the same as what we saw before. You can sort if I had more people. Doesn't give me a way to segment there. So you could segment here in the advanced area. So you could segment by people who had opened another email, people who didn't open an email, people who had been on your list for a certain amount of time, okay? Then we're gonna go to review and confirm, schedule. And we can send it now or send it later, or you can deliver based on time zones for if you have their paid plan. Deliver based on time zones is good if you have a launch that you've said ends at midnight and you don't necessarily need it to be midnight a certain time zone. Maybe you've said midnight on the 23rd. You can send out an email to people based on their time zone. So at 1 hour before midnight at 11 p.m., it goes out and says we have 1 hour left in our launch. It's not something that I use a lot or that actually I've ever used, but I could see where there could be some use for that. Okay, so we're going to schedule it for later, and that's where you would do it here. And if you have this set up with Google Analytics, you can have the tracking set up. This is pretty common in all of the email services, and then you'd hit send. Okay, now let's take a look at the subscribers. So here you can see I only have one subscriber, and then here it lists segments and groups. If I click in here, it should show me which group I'm in. Yes, I'm in the group Launch Tech Made Easy. That means I'm on the Launch Tech Made Easy list. Okay, talks about when I subscribed, and then you can put notes in here. It's a little bit less information than some of the other email services offer, but it's basic and it's easy to navigate. Go back out here. Here you can set up segments. And this is where you would set up things like if you wanted to send out an email to everybody who clicked a certain link, you could set that up in segments. You can edit your fields here, clean up inactive. Those are a little bit more advanced. Okay, so let's go to forms. Now you'll notice here in Mailerlite, they do have some landing page options, but they're listed under forms. Again, I'm not entirely certain why they do it that way, except that the form is actually on the landing page. If you want to do just a plain form, you can do that here with embedded forms. So if you are integrating, for example, with lead pages, you would set up an embedded form. That's what we're going to look at today. So here, you'd create your embedded form, give it a name. And it's going to go to my list or my subscriber group, Launch Tech Made Easy. And here's where you would design it. Okay, so you can drag, I'm assuming drag these things over. Oh, okay, so for title, you can change your colors, but you're just embedding, so you're not going to do a whole lot of design work here because this form is actually going to be somewhere else. So you can add some things like a confirmation checkbox. You can do this on other form services, other email services as well, and change your color, put in a background image. So this is where you do your design. Okay, and then you'd hit next. And you get a little look of what it looks like. Okay, when they fill out this form, they will be subscribed to Launch Tech Made Easy. Here's the URL if you just want to send, set the forms, put the form somewhere or send it to somebody. So, maybe you're at a live event and you want to hand your iPad to someone and you want them to be able to just fill out the form and get subscribed, you could use this URL. And then here's how you would embed it to your website. You would copy and paste this code. Okay. One of the things I do feel like I should point out here is that if you do use lead pages, of all of the email services that I'm going to take a look at, it is the only one that does not integrate directly with lead pages. And you can use Zapier to do the integration, but it does not integrate directly. And I do want to point that out because when you're just starting out and there's a lot of tech steps to set up, the fewer steps that need to be set up, the better. Okay. And so I think that that's a little bit of a downside for Mailerlite. Okay, so that would be how you'd set up your form. Here you can look at your stats and automation. You can do some editing things here, and then you set up double opt-in right here. Here's your subject line, your sender. This is what your double opt-in would look like. And definitely you could customize this to make sure that people are clicking to confirm that they want to be added to your list. I'm a huge fan of double opt-in. I say it all the time. It keeps a lot of bots off your list, and it keeps your list full of people who actually want to be there. Because, in my thinking, if they can't go to their email and be persuaded to click a link to confirm their email address in order to get something really awesome from you free of charge, then it's really unlikely that they're ever going to pay you for something. They don't value what you're offering, and it's not likely that they're going to be opening emails and buying or interacting with you. You want to sort of train them to go to their email to do their interactions with you. And so I swear by double opt-in. And then here's your thank you page, and you can customize that as well. I do want to talk for a minute about the fact that MailerLite offers landing pages. Not all email service providers do, and it is worth noting that if you are a little tight on cash and you want a landing page, but you don't want to pay for something like lead pages, there is an option here for that. If you go in here, and I'll say create new so we can look at some of the templates. I want to send it out to the one list that I have set up, the one group. There are some templates here. Now, are these enough to get by when you're first starting out? Probably. We don't know a lot about how well they convert. And one of the things that I really like about lead pages is that they have been around for a very long time. They have a lot of conversion data and different analytics behind their pages. So they really do know what converts. You know, the best places to put the video versus the button versus the box. And so most of these look like they are the type of page where it's just a one, like people put their email right as I go over them, you can't see on this page. So it's more like a form. Sometimes that's good. A lot of times people prefer that you do a 2-click opt-in because it's a micro commitment. And so then the landing page wouldn't have a spot for email and name. You'd click a button and then they'd fill out their opt-in form. So, you know, there's not as many options here, but it is something that MailerLite offers that you might be interested in. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay. So that is your how to set up an email, how to set up a list, and how to set up a form in MailerLite. And a lot of people love MailerLite. I will say that it seems to have all of the features that some of the other big guys have. I don't know in terms of automations how deep and how detailed it goes, but it does have a lot of the good basics. And so it might be a good option for you if you look through this as I've shown you around and thought, okay, that makes sense to me, then this might be a good option for you.